bring in Steiner Sports CEO Brandon Steiner.
One of the country's top memorabilia mogul.
I have an unbelievable guest, Brandon Steiner.
Brandon's second to none.
If you're an entrepreneur and enjoy marketing, promoting, I'm with a really, really smart guy. And what I love about him is it's built from the ground up. Mike Parella from I Love Kickboxing, but also a whole bunch of different businesses and concepts. We're going to try to cover them all. If you got questions, it's a participation sport. You can jump in, ask us questions. If you're sitting with some different ideas or businesses, we're talking franchise, seminars, motivation, inspiration. We're going to cover a whole bunch of things in the next 40 minutes. So please don't hesitate to ask some questions. If you don't know who he is, you're going to know who he is in a short period of time, because I consider you, Mike, a mastermind kind of guy. Like you're a visionary, and then you go to work. Strategy isn't your problem because you're a tremendous executor. I get that feeling. Where does that all come from, and first of all, why I love kickboxing? I mean, does kickboxing, is that fair to say, that's the core of a little bit of who you are, or?
Yeah, I mean, I think that really started as my core competency when I was 13. I started training in martial arts, and I always had this dream of being a martial arts instructor. That was like the whole thing from day one. Not just being a martial arts expert, but I fell in love with this idea of teaching and just helping people and sharing knowledge. I think the first group of people I ever taught I was 19 years old, and it was 9 kids that were about 6 years old at a local YMCA. Paid me like $22 an hour, which was amazing.
That's a lot of money back then.
Teach kids, and I got bit by the bug, and that was it. And then watching a kid's face light up when something clicked, they got something, was really powerful for me. So at 24 years old, I scraped together, borrowed about $7,000 from a whole bunch of people that I knew that believed in me.
How hard was that?
That wasn't hard. It was only a few phone calls.
Okay.
It was not that hard. The hard part came after I signed the lease without a lawyer, and didn't have air conditioning and all that other stuff that took place. But
so you basically jumped off the mountain without any, and then you figure how you're going to land on the way down.
I wasn't even thinking that there was a down. I was so excited to be there. I remember I leased the space, and they put up a sign in the window, and I taught Kung Fu, actually. So it's KUNG-FU in the windows, the vinyl letters with the neon paper behind it, and from like 11 o'clock at night to 4 in the morning, I sat on Old Country Road, Mineola, across the street, and looked up at that place. And I was like, my dream. It was like, one of those rare moments that people get a chance to actually say, like, my God, my dream was just realized. Like, this is the thing I've been dreaming about for 11 years, maybe even earlier than that, from watching Bruce Lee movies and stuff. But it was awesome. And I didn't know that I literally the opposite paradigm. Not only did I not know you could make money, I was under the impression that if you made any money doing this, you probably were selling out or you weren't good at it. So I wanted just a place to work out for myself, and if I could get some students to pay the bills, and I didn't have to worry about practicing in a park where I would train and getting hit by lightning, and going to a tree when it rained or something, I was cool. I was great. So that was the whole motivation. It was nothing about money.
Well, school, I remember we were just talking recently, school really wasn't for you. Wasn't your favorite thing.
I had a few teachers that stand out that inspired me and motivated me, but I never saw the value. Like, what's the real street value of this stuff? I was a scrappy kid from Queens. I think if you come from New York, you have this like survival thing in you that other states don't have. Like, there's just something gritty about
the boroughs.
New York. Yeah, and you know, there's scams everywhere. There's you're suspect of things, and I think there's something happens if you're born here. Nothing bad about any other states.
I mean, getting beat up, a couple muggings a year. You get beat up a few times a week. You're on the street. There's a lot of different ways to make money, not make money, steal money, whatever it is. I mean, you see it all.
Survival.
You deal with it all.
Yeah. So, I mean, people who think about Manhattan and they think about like what 42nd Street looks like right now. It's the Disney Mecca, right? When I was a kid, man, we could have at school at 12 years old. It was just a debauchery. It was awful. Like, you'd never let your kids anywhere near there. So, but we grew up around those things, and so I think there's a certain amount of grit. But yeah, I don't know. I always wanted to be in business for myself in some way. I always had the entrepreneurial bug in me. I just didn't know that it would lead down this path. I had no way of.
Well, take me down the path a little bit, because you've gotten your company a little bigger than a small little place.
Yeah,
explain what your company now is and what it's transformed into be.
Well, so I wound up at one point, and even before that, in 2007, so from 91 to 2007, I'm running a bunch of martial arts schools. It's fun. It's very rewarding. Money's okay. But it's always like a struggle. It's up months, down months. It's looks like a stock market type thing. But the work is gratifying. It's a job where you are helping people, and there's so much love and respect given back to you. It's almost disproportionate to what you're doing. And I think from there, I struggled back and forth, and then this event happens. Really, a series of events happened in 2007. It starts out, I let this like very shady person into my inner circle who professes himself a trust fund baby with $8 million, and I get invited to some UFC fights at his mother's house, big house at Sands Point. I'm like, wow. And I am captivated with the idea that this guy has money that will solve all my problems. And he's going to help me expand nationwide. He's got this whole sales pitch. And I just hook, line, and sinker, man. I mean, like, embarrassing for a New Yorker. Oh, yeah. But I realized I wanted to bite so bad. Like, I wanted this all to be true. Even when I saw all the earmarks of, like, wait a minute, that's not exactly right, or this is a little BS or whatever. And I just wanted it to be true. And I wrecked a relationship that I had because of it. I ruined relationships with staff members I had. And this guy became like this cancer that ate things from the inside out. So the aftermath is, I've got like my main business is maybe doing $500,000 a year. At the end of 1 year, it's doing $100,000 a year. So that wasn't easy to drive it into the ground that way. I was actually showing up for work.
You took, what we say, 3 steps back.
Oh, yeah.
Would you say you were almost bottomed out at that point?
Well, it got to be bottomed out when it got a little worse. Houses deep in foreclosure. Got to park my Ford Expedition about 6 blocks away from the house to avoid the repo guy. Been repoed 3 times, so I know what that's like. The one employee who worked for me, his mother, he still works for me 17 years later, right? He's been working for me.
And a lot has changed.
A little bit has changed, right? But his mother is a hoarder. Hoarders, right? Like the TV show. But she hoarded in Jeffrey Dahmer-sized freezers. She hoarded microwave TV dinners. So this kid, Ryan, who still works with me, he would bring in 6 microwave TV dinners a day. They were all expired. We had to cut off like 2 years. That was it. As long as they were less than 2 years, unless they were Swedish meatballs, and it didn't matter to me.
Yeah.
And that's what I ate every day.
Swanson or Morton?
No, it was lean cuisine.
Lean cuisine.
Lean
okay.
cuisine. So it was low calories. So and that's what I ate three times a day. And we lucky we got some protein powder from the gym, and then we made shakes. And that's what my life was like for about a year. And I had to go to Coinstar, that embarrassing thing where you put coins in the supermarket and they give you a receipt, and you got to go to aisle 4, and they go, Coinstar on aisle 4, and you're like, oh God, everyone knows I'm cashing in my change. And that's how I paid for food for my 2 labs, my dogs. And it was no movies, no going out, nothing. And it was just abysmal.
When you look back at those tough times, is that what gave you the strength? I mean, do you almost feel like you needed that experience to ultimately take you where you are today?
Well, it's weird. It seems like so many people who have achieved a degree of success have some kind of broke story like this. And I think what it is I think in a moment of like when you're staring into the abyss, there is this moment of clarity. There is no distraction. There's no confusion on the direction. There is only up. And it is like you are underwater, and you know the only thing you need to do is get to that surface, and nothing else matters. So I think that is the thing that's like, I've never been more focused than having to wonder where I'm going to get the next meal from, or
going back to where you were. It's a very scary point.
Oh yeah, but when you're as bad as it can go, like I'm to keep my business open, I'm stealing electricity from the neighbor. We wired into the meter. We had the who knew if you don't pay the bill, they turn the electric off, right? So got in trouble for that, and all kinds of crazy stuff like that. So you're like, oh my God, this is as bad as it gets. I mean, like I'm this close to living on someone's couch.
What's the turning point there? I mean, and also, did you ever just think about giving it all up and just maybe going to get a day job?
So I did think about that, and I actually said, you know what I'm going to do? I am going to write an ebook and become a millionaire. I'm seeing all these guys.
From being completely broke on your back, you're going to then write an ebook and become a
Oh yeah,
millionaire?
I'm like, you know what? I always had a penchant
Sounds
for
delusional.
marketing. Maybe it was, but I had a penchant for marketing. I read every every marketing book you could imagine at the time. Maybe 30, 40 books I had read. More books in a few years of working, having a business than I ever read in school system or at all. And I was really hungry to consume this stuff. So I'm like, look at all these people, and I think, you know what? This stuff's all scammy, this internet stuff. This is like 2007, right? And I'm like, I'm going to write a book and become a millionaire. Not. Like, that didn't happen. But what did happen was I started reading and spending time with some people where I realized integrity in the internet marketing space at the time. There was a lot of affiliate marketing. You got a deal, I'm going to mail out for you. Yeah. So I realized at that point, it was like, wow, the integrity level is super high, actually, because everyone finds out real quick if you're a bad egg. And everyone will be, get blacklisted, no one will do business with you because it's all this relationship, marketing in a way. And I started learning from some people, and I realized I had this crazy turning point. So you want to know the turning point?
Oh, of course.
Okay, here's a real turning point. I'm watching TV. I don't remember what it is. This is literally July 3rd, 2008. Because I remember what happened 2 days later.
10 years ago.
Yeah, almost the day, right? I'm reflecting, and I tell the day my mother died about 18 years ago today. And someone asked a question about who would show up at your funeral. And I'm remembering my mother's funeral at the time, and 250 people showed up. She was really loved by so many people, and then they went back to my house in a crazy party, which is what she would have wanted. No mourning or anything like that. But I'm looking at all the people that were there and the great things that were said about her, and I'm like, wow, I wonder who would show up at my funeral. And something on TV had inspired this thought. So I'm an artist. I was an artist when I was a kid. So I'm drawing my tombstone, little sketching it out. Great father, entrepreneur, all this bullshit.
Love that.
And here's what happens. So I start writing, and I said, you know what? Let me write down and I wrote a eulogy for my mother, for my brother and I to say. So I'm like, I wonder what will be said, and I start writing some things out about what will be said at my funeral, and it is amazing. It is awesome. And then I'm writing it, and I realize, like, this is just total bullshit. And as I'm writing this, and this is really what happened. It sounds like one of these like stories everyone wants to try and sell, but I'm writing this, and I am writing all the things that I want people to think about me. But when I started reflecting, so right away I take this thing and I threw it in the garbage, yellow lined paper. I throw it in the garbage. I get the next page out, and I start writing, and I start remembering relationships where I did somebody wrong. I start remembering business deals. I don't think I've ever intentionally deceived anyone, or I've intentionally ever hurt anyone. But if there were situations that I was in and I got out unscathed, that's okay. Not my responsibility what happened to you in this relationship. And I start writing about all those things, and there's like a half a dozen people that I know would not want to say something nice at my funeral, or they'd want to make sure they attended. And I start writing it, and it is horrible. And the moment comes, and I'm not like a highly emotional person, but when it comes to stuff like family, kids, like, I don't know, it kind of gets me. A right commercial could get me to cry if I see it on TV.
All right.
And I'm writing this stuff, and all of a sudden, a teardrop hits the ink, splatters it, and I stop. And I'm looking at this, and I have this moment, and I'm like, I'm 42 years old. This has been horrible. This is not the life that I could have or should have lived. And it's like this and it's before I even come up with this business idea 2 days later. And I just said, you know what, I'm going to be the architect for my life. I'm going to decide on how I live. I'm almost halfway there. I'm going to decide on how I live the rest of my life.
You took ownership.
I did. And I the things that I didn't do, I was a liar as a kid. I had a very challenging upbringing, and I was some physical abuse, and I was always getting in trouble for something, and I always did something wrong anyway. But I lied about it, and I made things worse, and I got into that habit, and it became this, I don't want to get hit, so I don't know what I should say, the right thing or the wrong thing. And I just said, you know what, I'm gonna go forward in life, and I wrote down like a half a dozen principles, and one of them was to always keep my word and be honest and ethical. And I don't think that in the business, the people I had learned from before, I had that as like in the forefront of things. That was one of the most significant changes in my whole life, being honest and being ethical, and being upfront about stuff. And if it meant me taking the hit, to preserve my name or the relationship, then I would do that.
You started looking at your legacy, you started building your brand, and also it just came clean. You basically want to get accountability and get everything kind of in order. Because sometimes I think people are so fast to move forward, but there's a mess behind them, and sometimes you can't ever get away from that mess without cleaning it up. And you cleaned it up.
Yeah, that's exactly what happened.
How soon did you come up with this idea? All of a sudden, to go
2
architect.
days. 2 days, July 5th.
You had one. Yeah. Did you have any places? Did you own any?
I had one place left.
One place.
One place left. After a few others closed.
So things were not fruitful, even though you've come to some, a moment of Jesus here. But
void of fruit. There was no fruit to be had. And I come up with this idea, and I registered a domain name, ilovekickboxing.com. And I start looking at the way that martial arts and fitness has been marketed. And everything prior to this date is free week, free month, free class, free something. And what I learned from delving into the internet marketing space is even if they were giving information out, it was never free. There always had to be some type of, whether it was a free plus shipping offer or a low barrier payment, but there had to be this creation of a relationship. We all grew up with these axioms like no such thing as a free lunch and things like that. And I once got tickets to a George Carlin concert, but I knew I had to go on a timeshare sit to get them. Brutal. I wouldn't do it now.
We've all been down that road before.
But I knew there was something attached to it.
Well, where'd you go with that? I mean, did you just say, I'm not going to do that, I'm going to go give a real value prop?
So I did. So today we'd use a term where I created a tripwire offer, where I said,
tripwire offer.
Right, so what it would be like is I decided to market programs that I had in my martial arts facility, kickboxing being one of them, and I created an offer, and I said I'm going to give them 3 classes at this unbelievable offer for $19.99, and I'm going to throw in a free pair of boxing gloves that have a $45 value. That was the key thing that I did. No one was
knew
doing
at
this
the
before.
very least, if you didn't go to the classes, the boxing goes alone worth $19.99, at least perception-wise.
Well, 45.
I mean, $45, but
yeah. They had to come in and get them, so they're not getting mailed to them or anything. So the first month I had, and I was dying, but the first month I got 19 people to purchase something online without ever coming into my business or seeing a picture of it online. I was like, this is incredible. And 16 of them enrolled. I mean, I treated them. I did everything but tie their shoes, like they were the last human beings on earth, because I was trying to survive. The next month it was 26 bought online. I signed up 22, and next thing you know, the business was back doing 35, 45, 55,000 a month inside of 7 or 8 months.
One place.
Yeah. Well, yes. So within a few months, and
just on that one idea with the boxing gloves and 3 classes.
Yes.
So sometimes I think a lot of people out there sometimes think they need to come up with a whole myriad of ideas. Is it really just about coming up sometimes with that one idea?
I think you have to start there. I mean, a lot of people, if you look at the whole way I built this franchise, it sounds like this masterful plan. Just didn't go down that way. It was more like, I think what's more important today is that you, especially with the way technology changes or the way we socially connect with people changes so quickly, you have to be agile and you have to be ready to pivot. You have to be able to. You should be evaluating your results not weekly, monthly, daily. I monitor them hourly. If you're ever in the restaurant business, they count how much money they make per hour to make decisions. And I started looking at the way I generated money from a marketing perspective online by the hour. And then it would help me make decisions. I would send different types of emails at different times of day because I noticed they converted differently. And I would, find out that people didn't buy as much on the weekends. So I took a 7-day budget and I switched it to 4 days to maximize the strength and potential of just selling on 4 days a week. So every little thing I did, I measured everything. And I'm kind of a researcher, I guess. So I got really deep into that. And as things evolved, it's kind of like water traversing down a mountain. You don't know what direction it's going to go, but you have to be quick and free to make those decisions to go left, to go right quickly. I think people get very fixated on a goal and a direction, and they don't value flexibility. And look at so many great businesses that are out there, how they pivoted. What Amazon started at, or different businesses started at initially, and then what they've turned into is nothing. Nothing like
people
that at
say
all.
it's survival of the fittest. I say it's survival of the flexible. You got to get your head on a swivel. I mean, you got to make sure that you can compromise, you can adjust. It's amazing how many people can't.
I agree.
So now you had this idea. I mean, how far did this boxing glove how far did that take you? And when did you get into the multiple units of franchising?
So I started just kind of kicking some ass and doing really well with it, and started being able to survive, and got out of foreclosure and cars and things like that, and where food, eating every day wasn't the concern, which was kind of good to be out of the head. And then I decided to take this, and I said, this is working really well. I said, I took 5 friends in different states that I had, and I said, let me hook you up with this website I built, which was a direct response website, all the elements needed to get people to buy something online. And I said, let me do you guys a favor, friends of mine, I have this thing I think will really work. Please be my guinea pigs and let me see if this works outside of my facility. So it was 3 guys in Texas, 1 guy in New York, 1 guy in Pennsylvania, and it worked just as well. And then I said, wow, I could be onto something here. I said, I wonder if I could start a marketing company where I try to create a license, and if you have a gym or a martial arts school, I'm going to give you this business in a box. And I started packaging up all the little things I did and sold it to them like that. And what I did was I said, no one really knows me. I don't have any track record of this. So I said, what I'm going to do is I'm going to make it impossible for them to say no. So I think the first 103 phone calls I had that were pitches to companies, I signed up 100 people.
Wow.
Because I made it irresistible. And I said is I gave them a 90-day guarantee. And what I did was, instead of them paying me a lot of money, I said, how about this? You just pay me $99 a month. I'll give you a 3-month guarantee. If I don't bring you in 10 clients, and I said, if I bring you in 10 leads, how many are you going to close out of that? And they all said, oh, we're going to close 7 out of 10, 8 out of 10. I said, well, let's pretend you're average, you close 5 out of 10. What's that worth to you? And they said, well, that's worth $6,000. I said, how about this? You pay me $99 a month. I'll do this for 3 months. If I don't give you 10 leads that are paid, qualified paid leads, I give you all your money back, no questions asked. You don't have to send me, you don't have to call me, just send me a message. I'll send your money back. I said, however, when the 10 people who join up or whoever else, when they pay $29 or $19 online, I get that money. They said, we got skin in the game, we're all good, we did it. So 100 people out of 103 signed up. That part of the business helped me to get financing. So here I am, I'm making sometimes $600-800 a month from all these clients, and they're not paying me, so they're happy, but they're getting tons of business. And then
you figured out a win-win.
I did because I was thinking win-win, where I always thought win, I don't care what happens to you, type of thing.
It's honest.
That's the way it was. So it was more survivalist in my head. So or just not really nice person, maybe, either one. So I started doing this, and it grows, and there's 300 and something licensees throughout the country, and I go to Groupon in 2009 that just starts out. They're in like 60 states, 1 deal per day. And I say, hey, listen, I got a bunch of clients all over the country. I said, could I run deals on behalf of my clients? And they said, well, we've never done that before. I said, well, I want to do it. So I become Groupon's 9th national client and their first aggregate. The first person to do deals on behalf of clients. First 6 months, I make $18,000, or $34,000. And I am like amazed. I mean, I was trying to get to $10,000 a month. So I was like, $34,000 is amazing. And then
how many locations are you dealing with now?
I had Groupon maybe on like 30 of them. Okay. Groupon wasn't everywhere. It was only in Manhattan. It wasn't even in Long Island yet. That's what I was calling for at first, to get it in Long Island, because I had my own locations. So right after that year ends and the new season's about to start, I find out how many people are in Groupon. I send 72 pizzas to Groupon, because I find out that the decision maker for each of the cities is one person, and that person may not like fitness, may not like you, and they don't want to run you in Atlanta. And it is a little community of 6 people that ran each individual place. So I went there, I saw it was like 300 people. It was like a boiler room. It was crazy. So I send 72 pizzas, a little bumper sticker on the pizzas. I found the best pizzeria in Chicago. It says, from all your friends that I love kickboxing, we love Groupon. I also plan a visit the next day. So I go there, I have my rep.
Grease the wheels.
Introduce me to everybody.
Grease the skids.
Introduce me. The next 12 months, I make $584,000 because they ran me everywhere. And I even see a letter from one of my reps that goes, now I'm not sure if the pizza had anything to do with this, but here's the deals we have lined up for Out of Kickboxing. And every time they set me up in a state, it was a cash register ringing.
And that's
ringing.
a triple play, because you got win for Groupon, win for you, win for your franchise. Yeah. And
so,
everybody's getting more clients than they ever thought they were going to get, and that's the money you get to keep.
Yeah. So here I am. Like I'm doing this for like 2 years, and now I'm making $2 million a year from Groupon. And I'm like, holy cow, but I'm only making $3 million a year. So I'm like, oh my God, all my eggs are in one basket. And I was like, how do I make this thing bigger? And I started researching. I said, well, even if I get to this point, or I get to this point, and I only saw $5, maybe $6 million a year. And I said, if Groupon pulls a rug out from under me, I'm going to be in trouble. I said, and there was Facebook wasn't even ads on. Or we just started running ads on Facebook. They just started their marketing their platform. So I'm like, I researched. I was like, I got to go the route of franchising. Franchising is the only way I can really expand this, because ultimately the problems that came up were I knew how to run this type of business. And if you just listened to me, it would work perfectly. But it was hard to enforce getting people to listen. So I went to a franchise
Welcome
model.
to my world.
It's difficult. But what's great about a franchise is you have a lot more control, and people realize what they're buying into, this proprietary system that differentiates you from every other business. So they realize they don't want to be a unique snowflake. At least most of them do. They realize they're being part of a team and a brand. So I become a franchise, and I started researching all these companies. It was so expensive. I quotes of $300,000. I didn't have that much money to, at the time. But I kind of get a little gritty, and I find some inexpensive ways to do it, and I become a franchise, and I can't sell shit for a year. My franchise fee's $10,000. I'm thinking I'm going to lowball everybody. I'm going to go to the franchise shows. I'm going to kill it, right? Wrong, like tumbleweeds rolled by my booth, crickets I heard. Because everyone was like, $10,000, what's wrong with you? Everyone else is $35,000, $40,000.
You were too cheap.
Too cheap, made me look like I was defective. So also I'm watching another franchise that's similar. I'm like, these guys are killing it. How is this possible? So I have someone research this, and I find out there's these broker networks where hundreds of franchises are involved in these groups, and there are people who get leads from all over the country. So I get into the number one broker network, and I'm pretty competitive. Right?
And is that where it took off for you?
High school sports. It took off, but the first year was horrible. No one trusted you to give you leads. It was like a club you had to break yourself into.
How'd you break in?
I broke in by accident. Because we did a deal, and the person who bought one franchise went, and this kind of relates back to what we said before. She bought a franchise, got divorced, moved out of state, wanted to sell her unit back, but she never opened it. And it was part of our model that we didn't buy back unopened territories. So the person who referred it had made a commission for referring it, and we all agreed that this person was a bit of a thorn, and they were becoming a little vocal. So she was willing to take just X number of dollars for this. And the guy who referred it said, "Listen, Michael, let's just do this. How about I'll kick in. I'll give some money back for this, and let's get rid of her. She's not. It's not a good fit right now. She's having a hard time." And I said, "Hey, there's a guy named Ray." I said, "Ray, you did your job perfectly. It's not your responsibility. I appreciate the offer, but I'll just take care of it." And I took care of it. Now, what I didn't know was going to happen was that guy told everybody that was all these brokers about this experience with me, from guys who didn't really know us yet. And that was the linchpin. So that was the thing that, like the pizzas.
Doing the right thing.
The only thing is I didn't do it for that reason. I just did it because I wanted to do the right thing.
It's cool.
And it turned out, serendipitously to...
Now, how many places do you have?
Well, we sold 1,000 franchises in 5 years. So in that broker network, I held a record for 3 straight years that no one has ever held a record, like sold the most more than 1 year, and I held it for 3 years straight, like I was the champ. So a little competitive, it cost a lot of money to do that, but that was it. So we sold about 1,000 of them. There's somewhere between 300 and 350 of them open right now. Not as many open as I'd like. I think I was more excited in the very beginning when I was a neophyte at this, just getting excited to get the check and get one opened, and not planning out for everyone opening up the second, third, and fourth units. But it's been pretty exciting. What
do you say to entrepreneurs out there that that are sitting with this kind of idea? Give me like your top 3 most important things if you're somebody young out there just trying to get your idea to kind of stick.
Well, listen, I think that I hear a lot of ideas all the time, and most of them are just horrible. I think one thing to realize is don't get emotionally attached to the idea.
We were talking about that before. Let's talk about that emotional attachment in business. You say the more unemotional I get towards business, it seems like the better I do.
Yeah. Okay. So imagine this, right? So I'm in martial arts. I love this. Like, if you were to say to me, quit doing martial arts, I'd say to you, well, could you quit breathing? I mean, it was like, it's not something I did, it's something I was, right? Or I am. So every decision about this, man, was a tug of war, because I have feelings for the clients, and I'm concerned about my reputation and my legacy and all these things that were most just like artificial constructs. They weren't really about really simple. The business I learned that I'm in is the business of getting people to pay, stay, and refer. And that's really it. It's 3 components. Now, pay, stay, and refer. That's it. And most businesses really are that. Now, what you do to make them pay, what you do to entice them to part with their hard-earned money. In my case, in martial arts, I had to get parents to give me their 2 most valuable possessions, their kids and their money. So I taught kids for 20-something years. And I realized there's 2 ways you can do that. You can be a little scummy and deceptive, or you could be really genuine and really helpful. And the times when people didn't sign up with me, I sent gifts to their house. The times when something didn't work right, I made sure they came out better off than I did. But I think the emotional part stunted me. I could have moved faster, and the example I said earlier is I managed somebody's martial arts schools a few years after I opened up my own, and I made twice the money that I could ever make on my own facilities.
Why?
By managing.
How's
because
that?
It was just black and white decisions. Like if we walked throughout your building, I would tell you like,
why are you doing this? Why are you doing that?
Why is this happening? Why is this there? Why aren't you maximizing this? Why don't you double this? And I don't know what the reasons would be, but I'm sure that you're very emotionally, this is your business, your building. You're very emotionally attached to it. But I think it's a value when people bring in consultants. They can look at their business with a fresh eye and just make the hard decision. Like, for instance, have you ever had an employee that really had to go, but you had a hard time getting them to go?
Oh yeah, for sure.
Yeah, but someone else would come in and be like, Brandon, what are you doing? This guy's got to go. You're not helping him. He's not helping you. You're killing each other in this codependent, awful relationship. But I think that's an example of how the emotion takes place. But when you get attached emotionally to the product, to the service, and to the customers, not to mention the employees, it clouds your judgment. So I think for anyone who's got this idea, an idea for a business, I think the first thing is don't be emotionally attached to what the idea is. Be emotionally attached and be driven to the point of I'm going to be successful. I'm going to make a difference. I'm going to take care of my family. I'm going to leave a legacy, whatever it is. And understand that what it looks like today may not look like. Listen, that when I first came into your office, that timeline downstairs. So you first started this business and you booked appearances for athletes.
Yeah.
Did you ever?
Simple.
Now,
no idea this was going to happen.
They're asking for autographs. You're like, bing, light bulb goes off. But that wasn't the plan. Now, if you had just said, you know what, that's not my business. I'm going to just focus on getting these guys on TV or getting them to speak in front of groups, we wouldn't be here right now.
You're probably right.
That's how I think about it. I think you have to just be cool with saying, hey, I'm committed to this. You may be committed to a field because you love this field, but just don't be committed to how it may shake out. Like you love sports.
Yeah.
Agreed?
Absolutely. I love sports, love the competition, love the wow part of it all, but it's the unknown. So we never know what tomorrow's going to be in this business. And that's fun, the unknown.
And any given Sunday, right?
Yeah, exactly.
So you stayed in sports, but it wasn't what you started out to do.
But you obviously you built up a nice business with these franchises, but you have some other businesses. Like where does that come into play? Like your seminars. I gone to your seminar a couple months ago, which is amazing, with some great speakers, that kind of thing. Like where does that? What brought you into that business?
Well, that was probably a little more of like the passion part. So, it's weird. Like I had such a hard time getting out. Like, could you ever get out of sports? Do you think?
I don't think so.
Okay, so here I am in martial arts. I'm doing it my whole life, but I realize there's so many limitations to that industry. I mean, imagine an industry where to get an employee, they have to intern. It's almost like going back to like colonial days of being a blacksmith. You got to intern somewhere for 3 or 4 years before you. I mean, how can you scale a business like that?
Yeah, that's true.
It takes you years to get an employee, right?
Yeah.
So I'm like, I think I have so much value to offer, and I can help people who have this entrepreneurial bug and who love fitness and martial arts. I got to find a way to
bring them all together
in a way that's going to move the needle. And just running martial arts schools and everything. There's only a few guys, friends of mine, in the whole country that are really killing it with a dozen or so units. Otherwise, it's mom and pops all over the place. And I was like, I gotta. And a few people tried franchising, it didn't work. And I was like, I gotta do this in a different way. And I wanna make my mark. I wanna provide for my family. I wanna leave a legacy. And I'm tired of eating microwave TV dinners. And I'm never going back. I'm gonna put myself so far ahead that is never gonna be in my rearview mirror ever again.
Amen.
And that was it. So I think it was like that fear of like, I hated being broke. I mean, it's like,
it's the worst.
You know, been both so far. Like I'll take, you know, having some money over having none any day of the week. So, where else were we with that?
I was just thinking on the seminars, what's so amazing about them is, and I've been to a lot of these, is they were vibrant. Like they're not just you throw a couple speakers in a room and you hope people come. There was it was a common bond that I felt, and you couldn't find a seat in the room.
Oh, we had killers on stage, but so that's what happened. I still love this industry. I have a hard time getting out of it. I found a way to get out of it, but I'm still one foot in it. It's kickboxing.
Not complaining though.
No, not at all.
Because
I'm blessed.
You got
if anything.
Yeah, exactly.
So I love what martial arts has done for me as a kid. I would never be here. I wouldn't have the confidence I have. Knowing that, you know, and growing up in an area where lots of street fights and stuff, when you finally got to the day,
lots of street fights on your street. I mean, you're getting a fight 2-3 times a week. I mean, I wasn't fighting that often. We had a lot of fights in our neighborhood.
Listen, I was a popular kid, which made me a target for kids that were bullies and not popular.
Yeah.
You know, I was something happened when I was younger. I was very handsome, and always had girlfriends and stuff, and that put me on the radar for some people. And the fact that I was a short kid, I made a joke that the TV show Fantasy Island, my nickname was Tattoo. He was the little guy who helped Mr. Rourke. And that was, I was always one of the first few kids in a lineup of 35 kids in a class. I was maybe number 6 or 7. So I didn't grow till I was about 11th grade. And so I think.
But Mike, are you a what else guy though? It just seems like more I talk to you and more I hang with you, you're like, what's next? What else? Like whatever it is you have, your mind automatically goes to an extension of that, it seems like to me.
I don't want to go back to being broke. I think that's my driving fear.
So the purpose isn't that you're that much of a marketing genius, promotional genius. The more of it is the fear of failure. You rather, the fear of failing supersedes the success. Right? It is for me. I mean, I'd love to say I'm a genius in marketing and promotion, but the dredge of opening that refrigerator and being empty is enough motivation to figure out how to come up with the next idea.
Oh yeah, I think I'm constantly leveraging myself, even putting myself out there, and whether if I bought a new car, I built a business, and I'm on social media, like I know it's the leverage. See, I know when you decide to go on a diet or do a body transformation or something, the more people you tell, the more leverage you place on yourself to be successful, because you don't want to go back and go, hey Brandon, what happened to that diet thing? You're like, oh yeah, something happened. You want to tell a story. I don't want to tell that story. I don't want to tell a story about it. I speak to so many business owners, like guys we coach, and small business owners. Hey, how's everything going? A couple of years ago, everything was good, but I had a divorce. I had this, I had that. I'm just working my way back up again. I'm not doing that. I'm not having that discussion.
No interest.
I'm going to find a way that no matter what life throws at me, no matter what obstacle, no matter what challenge I have, that I'm not going to be restricted by finances.
You're in a bunch of directions. We probably don't have enough time to cover them all. But what's the most fun thing about your life right now? What's the best thing about your life from your perspective at this point, now having been through some of those lows, fighting your way up, building out some businesses that have done incredibly well? What's the thing you enjoy the most?
To full transparency, the fact that so I have a 21-year-old son, and I also have a beautiful wife that came into the marriage with 3 boys that are just about 7, 8, and 9. So the coolest thing is, is I didn't understand. We spent all this time trying to work hard to make money, take care of a family, but we wound up sacrificing family in that process of working hard. So I said, at this go around, the same way, writing this stuff on a yellow piece of paper, I realigned a lot of values, and I said, you know what? And my 21-year-old son, I love him to death. He works for me. But there were times when, his mom and I got divorced, and I wasn't there as much as I would have liked to have been. And I said, I'm not going to do this again. I found the right woman. Perfect. You met my wife before.
Beautiful,
She's
great,
the
smart,
best woman in the world. My wife has this innate ability. There's basically 4 of us in the house: three boys, 6, 7, and 8. Well, actually, sorry, 7, 8, and 9, but one turned 7 August 5th. So they're almost aligned all
But
the time.
3 boys are a handful, having grown up in that scenario
are.
myself.
She has this ability to make every one of us feel like we're the only person on earth. I don't know how she does it. I don't know how she copies herself, but she spends time with all of us individually, all of us together, makes everybody feel special. It is more important for me to balance, to make sure that my business serves my lifestyle more than my lifestyle serves my business.
So you don't live to work, you work to live, so to speak, maybe?
The fact is, I can work from home. The fact is, I go to poetry readings for my kids' classes. I go to picture days, book fairs. I do everything that is available to me. I don't have to miss anything unless I'm traveling or something, which is understandable. But I don't miss anything, and I do have some regret. I miss some things in my other son's life, and I am not going to make the mistake again. So the most satisfying thing I have is that I've created businesses, and this is where I'm not emotionally attached to the businesses. I'm emotionally attached to my family. That's all the emotional attachment I need, and great friends and people I associate with. But I have been able to ultimately get freedom to do all the things that I don't have to worry about going through life regretting, oh, I missed this, or, Daddy didn't come to this or to that.
That's great.
So that's really it.
In closing, what's next? Is there something on the horizon for you, or are you pretty good status quo with the different things you're working on now?
We're launching a software company. We still do the marketing and coaching for people in the martial arts industry. We're going to expand that into fitness because it's a really similar demographic. And I have a new franchise that we're launching in the summer, and which is a little bit under wraps right now. But Daymond John from Shark Tank's my partner in that, and that's actually going to be, I think, selling by the end of the year.
And Daymond's everywhere. The dude is everywhere.
He's a killer. He's a worker.
He is
man.
A killer, man. He is a stone cold killer.
Several times a month, all over the country. Yeah. He's on all kinds of boards and speaking at events. It's on magazine covers. His new book came out. I was grateful that I have a tiny chapter in the book. Is having the book. The new one he came out with, Rise and Grind.
I have that book at home. I got to read that Rise and Grind book.
Page 207 to 217 is me.
He threw you a bone there.
He threw me a bone.
He seems like a generous guy.
Super. I mean, I know they call him like the people's shark, and he's.
I think he's a reasonable shark. I like one of the better sharks.
Very, very cool, down to earth, chill guy. We grew up a neighborhood apart.
Knows who he is. Knows where he's been. Knows where he's going. That's all that matters. Use the show to educate people. Promote entrepreneurism. I think he does a nice job at that.
Yeah, so that's what I'm excited about. He, had a franchise idea and said, "Hey, man," I had him speak at an event, and we started chatting and connected right away. And he goes, "Hey, I got these 2 things. What do you think?" And I checked one of them out and talked about how we could make it franchisable, and that's what's happening.
That's cool, Mike. It's been great. I feel guilty because I don't do enough kickboxing. But I'm thinking about, like, if I was going to go do kickboxing, like, do I go to a UFC gym or could I do some kick? Like,
well, listen, I think going anywhere is better than going nowhere.
Fair. That's fair.
I think that like the kickboxing facilities we have are great for people who are looking for a great workout and a great social environment, a positive and nurturing people. Especially if, like, we have people who move into a new neighborhood, they wind up joining, and they are so happy they made friends. That's a hard thing sometimes as adults. How we break in and making friends. It was different when you were a kid. Yeah. You knock on the neighbor's door. Hey, you want to come out and play? And that's the end of it. Adults are harder.
But Mike, whoever thought like 3 workouts and a pair of boxing gloves was going to be? Because every time I go over this story with you, the few times we've hung and everything, like, it still comes out of 3 workouts and a pair of boxing gloves. Yeah. And who was the gateway? It seems like,
who would have thought? So right now, as far as I know,
who would have thought autographed baseball would be my gateway? So I mean,
we sell just shy of 40,000 pairs of boxing gloves a month. We sell more boxing gloves than anybody in the world, as far as I know.
Wow!
All because of 3 classes and a free pair of boxing gloves. That tripwire offer that we made, that becomes.
And is it like clockwork? 40,000. I mean,
it's clockwork. It's so I'm so mathematical. It's a little anal, I think, but to the hour, and knowing on each time zone what the conversion rates are on the websites. But it is I'm crossing my fingers, but we are hopefully about to finalize a deal with Warner Brothers to take all the DC characters, Justice League, Superman, Wonder Woman, everything, and put them all in boxing gloves.
Because they have 1 million pairs of boxing gloves. if I'm not doing my math right.
Yeah,
And
we're
that's a
selling
lot of
couple.
boxing gloves.
It's a lot of boxing
So if I can go
gloves.
put my, a license out there, that's 500,000 pairs going out there.
Well, it can be more because we're actually going to retail them outside the facilities, and so you'll be able to buy them at Dick's
Right.
Sporting Goods or Modell's or somewhere like
That's
that.
cool. So you're in the boxing glove business.
Kind of, but by accident.
A little
And
bit,
again, never planned on doing that, but it does generate. And we have a great vendor, Sentry, who makes gloves for us, and they're
Yeah.
a great supplier of martial arts. But
That's cool.
they pay us a royalty, and it's a win-win. But it's weird, people talk about passive income. There's a bunch of these things, like even Groupon. Groupon for us is still it's a few $1,000,000 a year that we generate off that, and it is passive. It took a long time to build and cultivate these relationships. Now they seem, it seems like overnight success, right? 20-something years. doing
Always
it, but,
does, yeah. Right.
It is really neat that there's security.
Those
there's-
pizzas did help, though.
they don't hurt, man. Listen, I think get people where
The
they
little things mean everything.
food. I look, my mother always told me, like, what was the thing I always hear? A way to a man's stomach is, or a man's heart is through his stomach. And people, I think the power of reciprocation, if you use it, kind of like the Force, right? As long as you're not using it for the dark side, if you use it for good and you're presenting yourself in a way that will create a win-win situation, I think any persuasion technique or tactic is all fair game. As long as the intent is there and something good's going to come from it.
That's good stuff. Thanks, Mike. Great to see you,
pleasure,
man.
man. Thank you.
Pleasure.